everyone, welcome to my channel, Kindred Souls of Brooklyn. I'd like to wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Today, folks, I want to do a video on a very important place to me in my childhood and to yours too, I'm sure. Red's Pool Supplies in Mill Basin, Brooklyn. And also want to throw in a little thing about the water crisis of the mid-1970s, about having a Brooklyn pool. It was wonderful growing up with. I'm actually here at the Manatee Viewing Center in Apollo Beach in and around Tampa. So I'm going to show you that in between talking about all this other cool stuff, because I thought it kind of went together, because you're going to see this place here. It's unbelievable. Reminds me of going to Red's Pool Supplies. That's probably what made me think of it. So stay tuned for a really cool video. I hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned, please. So right off the bat, I want to talk about Red's Pool Supplies. I'll put up their address right over here. I mean, growing up in Brooklyn, a lot of us had that Brooklyn pool. I was very lucky to have the Brooklyn pool. And, you know, these were the 4-foot high pools, and maybe they were like 5 feet around, but they were in our backyard. And it was such a blessing, because I learned how to swim in that pool and had so many hours of fun in that pool. But, you know, when we needed supplies, we didn't really have Harrows and things like that. Those things were out in Long Island. We had this place called Red's Pool Supplies. And not only did you buy pool supplies in there in the summertime, they also had toys. It was one of the best places to go to for toys. And I remember going there, a lot of times when Toys R Us was out of a certain thing, you'd go to Red's and somehow we would have it. And it was just incredible. And when you went there for pool supplies, the guy had everything. Like, the guy would literally sell you, if you needed a screw for something or other, for the liner, he would sell you that. He would just, you know, there was everything involved. He would have it there. The guy's name was Red. They called him Red because he had red hair. He also had an Irish setter named Red. So here you're looking at the power plant, and this plant generates the electric for Tampa, or helps generate it. And I'll show you the water. It dumps the hot water in, and you're gonna see some manatees. So I'll continue talking about Reds along the way. So this is where we are. Again, Kerry's looking out for the manatees. They swim right in over here. You can see the size of this complex here, which is tremendous. And you'd never believe that something like this could exist. And nature being nature, I mean, oftentimes there's between 70 and 100 manatees just in this little bay. And there's all kinds of fish who come in here too. Now this inlet right over here, you go right out over here, and this goes out into Tampa Bay. And this is where all the manatees come in. Remember in the 70s growing up, it was very hard to get some of the Planet of the Apes toys, and we went to Red's Pool Supplies in the wintertime. And now this place, it was inside of a factory. Now if you guys remember, Red's Pool Supplies was originally on like New Utrecht Avenue, and he moved right across from King's Plaza years later. But both of these places were just literally factories. It was really, really raw in there. I mean, it was just, you went in there was some pipes leaking, and it just wasn't fancy at all. It was just like, it was like going into a factory of some kind. But the amazing thing was, he always had these really hard toys to find. And, you know, and along with that, he had every part you could imagine. I mean, we needed a stone for like the, you know, when you cleanse the water, you need like this kind of stone. And we had this old filter. Sure enough, he had everything in there. And, you know, it kind of reminded me of my dad's shop. He was a watchmaker, and you went in there and it looked like kind of like a mess, but my dad knew where everything was, and he pull out this really part for something. Red was the same way, and Red was a very personable guy. He'd go in there, he'd say hello to you, and you know, it didn't take any nonsense. You know, if you drove him crazy, he'd let you know. But he was a real true Brooklyn guy, and I wanted to do this video. I don't know what happened to him, if you guys know. I mean, he must have passed by now. He was in his 60s or 70s back when I was little, so I'm sure he's gone now. But it was just an amazing place to go to. Look at this, folks. This is something probably you've never seen. A manatee mailbox, but this is not a mailbox that you outside your house. This is one you put United States mail into. Look at that. It's pretty cool. Maybe we should put some of these on every corner. Maybe in Brooklyn we need a few of these guys. Maybe we could put a couple of Brooklyn animals on there, like a squirrel, or like a, you know, a possum, or maybe even a raccoon. I know some people would love that. So if you look right over here, this is where the hot water gets pumped out into the bay. And there's a couple of manatees right on the edge over there. We'll try to get a chance to see those. But this is where the water is pumped out. And this reminds me, I grew up on Prospect Avenue. So this reminds me of the incinerators at the sanitation department that you see on 4th Avenue, not far from Costco and down by Home Depot, right at the edge of the Prospect Expressway. So I guess that's why I'm thinking Christmas, and I'm thinking Reds, and I'm thinking backyard pool. Just all this stuff kind of comes back to me. I have that kind of memory. I want to tell you guys, some of you guys might have forgotten this, but I remember there was a water shortage back in the mid-70s in Brooklyn. And so what happened was, because there was a water shortage, the mayor turned around and said, anybody who had the little Brooklyn pool, the 4-foot Brooklyn pool, or a big pool for that matter, they turned off the fountains. You weren't able to fill up your pool. So my mom would put up the pool every single year, like around March or April, and it was great. But this particular year, we put the pool up, and of course we tried to put, hoping that it rained or whatever, but you didn't get that much rain, so we had maybe an inch of water in there. So it didn't look good. It didn't look like, there was going to be no pool that year. But my mom always came up with a solution, as most moms always do. And so one day when my mom was at the bowling alley, we were all bowlers in the family, especially my mom and I, and she was at the bowling alley. Big shout out to Kenmore and Diplomat Lanes on Snyder Avenue and Flatbush. They're both gone now, but that's where we used to bowl a lot. But she was at Kenmore Lanes talking to the owner, Joe Spinella, and there was a guy who came in who was actually a contractor, and he was telling my mom about how he was doing this work and he had to get water from New Jersey. He had to call a water truck from New Jersey. So a light bulb went over my mom's head, and she said, would they really come to Brooklyn? He goes, yeah, it's like $50, $60, and they'll come over with a water truck full of water and they'll fill up your pool. But how can you do that? She goes, well, on the back end of our yard, the guy who's at the adjacent yard to us, he's got just concrete, and we're friendly with him. He'd probably let the water truck back through the back of his yard, put a hose through the window, and fill up the pool. So sure enough, that's what we did. But here's the funny part of the story. The funny part of the story comes in now. They had said that if they were flying overhead with helicopters, and if you had your pool filled up, then they would ring your doorbell and give you a $250 fine. So sure enough, we get the pool filled up, no problem. But my mom has the receipt. Back in those days, they give you these really big receipts from like oil companies and stuff like that. So the receipt was a really huge receipt, and she had it in the house. So one day I'm in the pool, and the doorbell rings, and I go outside, and there's this guy standing there with a badge. I don't know if he was from Environmental Protection or whatever agency it was they had going around. And he said, "Hi, son, how are you doing? Is one of your parents home?" I said, "Sure, my mom is home." He's, "Oh, can you go get her, please?" So sure enough, I went inside, and I tell my mom she was working on something in the yard. My mom was always building something or fixing something, and she was very, very handy. She was a woman way ahead of her time. Anyway, she came out, put her sunglasses on. My mom could be a little shy sometimes, unlike me, the ham. But she walked out, and she meets the guy out there. I walked right with her, and the guy said, "Hey, ma'am, how you doing?" He goes, "I know you got a little kid, and I'm really sorry to do this to you. Just, have a pool for your son. I can understand that, but the mayor has this decree out that if you have your pool filled up, we have to give you a $250 ticket." So without missing a beat, my mom turns around and says to the guy, "That's not New York City water." So the guy just gives this really incredible look, and he's like, "Come on, ma'am, what are you talking about? What do you mean it's not New York City water?" She goes, "Wait right here." So just like in those old MasterCard commercials, you see it to believe it kind of thing, she comes out with this huge bill, and she hands it to the guy, and the guy reads it, and his chin drops to the floor, and he goes, "Ma'am, that's pretty darn good." He goes, "You have yourself a good day." And he left, and me and my mother laughed and laughed and laughed. But it was just incredible. It was genius. And again, a lot of people forget about the water shortage of the 70s, but it really was out there. It really did exist. And I wanted to provide that funny story. And because to me, it's one of my favorite Brooklyn stories to tell anytime I'm talking Brooklyn stories. And I thought you guys would enjoy it too. So back to the manatees. We have one manatee here who's under observation because I think he had gotten hurt. So that float device that you see right there is actually on him, so they could track him to see how he's doing. So I want to see if we can get a little close-up of him. I can't really see it from here. There's actually two other manatees around him. So let's see what we could get here. Show you some manatees. Folks, if you guys ever want to come here, it is definitely worth it. It's conveniently located right off of I-75, which is, if you're at Disney World, it'd be like an hour from Walt Disney World. And look at all the birds. There's a bird sanctuary here. And we also have a lot of fish here too. So check this out. This is all the fish that you're gonna see here. Little shout out to Sheepshead Bay. Sheepshead is a fish you got there, but you got sharks, You got mullets, needlefish, stingrays. Even have a touch tank here of stingrays. So this is really convenient to come to. Like I was telling you, it's about 1 hour from Walt Disney World. You would just go south on I-4 toward Tampa. You'd hook up with I-75. This is exit 246. GPS it. It's really easy to find. Your guide marker is going to be these big smokestacks behind. So these smokestacks will be your guide marker. You'll see these coming off the highway when you come for miles around. So there's no way you're going to miss this place. If you've ever wondered where the Stingrays go at Tampa Ray Stadium in Tampa when baseball season is over, well, no more wondering. They actually come right here to Apollo Beach, to the viewing center off of I-75, exit 246. These same Tampa Rays here are actually the ones you see in the stadium. And when the season's over, they come here for the winter. Not a bad deal. I think I want to come back as a Ray, as a Stingray. Look at these guys and girls. Wow. Can't beat that, boy. Baseball all year, and you hang out all winter. That's really nice. So it's a nice little complex up here. You got your gift shop over here. You can tell it's Christmas. You got your manatee dressed up here for Christmas. I want to thank everybody for tuning into this video. And folks, if you have any photos or reminiscences of Red's Pool Supplies, it would be great. Please share them, leave them in the comment section. That'd be great. Did you have a Brooklyn pool like me growing up? 4 foot tall and 5 foot around, but hey, it got us through the summer. It was a lot of fun, taught us how to swim, eased up some of those dog day afternoons in the summertime. It was great. And the water shortage of the 1970s. Do you guys have any stories about the water shortage of the 70s? I'd love to hear it. So folks, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you could subscribe, that'd be great. That'd be a great shot in the arm. Really appreciate that. And love you guys out there, and I'll see you on the next video. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah. I'll see you real soon. Take care now, folks. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.